to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come?
It says, who among you will hearken unto this? Who among you will listen to this? Because a lot of you are walking by. A lot of you are walking by not paying attention. That's why a lot of your sons are the ones in the prison. Right. A lot of your fathers are the ones locked up today. Right. Because you are not hearkening unto the Bible. Give me that Isaiah 42:22. Prison house. You know what I want? Watch this. Because this is what happens to us as a people. We had yokes of iron on our neck. We had shackles and chains. Shackles and chains. Why? Because we broke the commandments. Bring it out. Read that in Jeremiah.
Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
So we as a people, so-called black, so-called Hispanic, so-called Native Americans, we are as a people are robbed and spoiled. Right. Come on.
They are all of them snared in holes.
It said they are all of them snared in holes, in traps. That's the school to prison pipeline. Right. That's the Moderna vaccine. Right. That's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. These are traps. Some of you is taking these things. You don't know the side effects that's going to come from that. The COVID-19, that's a trap. Right. Come on.
And they are hid in prison houses.
And that's why the majority of our people are in prison. The majority of the prison population is our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics. So who got an article on it? Can you give me an article on that, the prison population versus the prison population versus the actual population? It's something like that. See if you can find that for me real quick. Read that again.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled. There are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. Right. Therefore pray, and none deliver it.
So it says we are hid in prison houses. That's why the majority of our people are in prison. Right. The majority of black men in America are in prison. Right. It's been systematic. Here we go. Look at this. This is Wikipedia article on the United States incarceration rate. I want you to read this real quick.
In September 2013, the incarceration rate of the United States of America was the highest in the world.
The incarceration rate in America in 2013, that was 7 years ago, about 8 years ago, was the highest in the world. Come on.
At 716 per 100,000 of the national population.
So there was 716 per 100,000. So out of 100,000 people, 716 of them were locked up. Come on.
By 2019, it had fallen to 419 per 100,000. Between 2019 and 2020, the United States saw a significant drop in the total number of incarceration.
So, yeah, I'll let you find it. Find a key point in there. But out of 100,000 people, 719 of them were incarcerated. Now we're going to find out the statistic of how many of those were so-called black people. There's a church on every one of these corners. You're going to see a church. But guess what? Our people don't actually understand God. Our people do not understand God, even though there's a church on every block. Some of y'all go to church on Sunday, every single Sunday. But guess what? You do not understand the Bible. Right! Because the pastors that you are going to church and following, they do not believe in the Bible. Right. They are not teaching you according to thus saith the Lord. Right. Well, watch this. I think that's what I African Americans are incarcerated by state prison across the country. Yes, this is what I want. So we're going to go back, we're going to read that in Jeremiah again, but read this article first.
African Americans are incarcerated in state prisons across the country at more than 5 times the rate of whites.
It says, so-called African Americans are incarcerated in state prisons across the country at more than 5 times the rate of whites. Read on.
And at least 10 times the rate in 5 states. This report documents the rate of incarceration of whites, African Americans, and Hispanics in each state, identifies 3 contributors to racial, ethnic disparities in imprisonment.
So, what that article is saying, read that in Jeremiah again now, 42. What that article is saying is that our people, so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we are incarcerated 5 times more than white people. Bring it out. We are more likely to be in prison 5 times more than the so-called Caucasian, the so-called white man. And that's by design. Right. Watch that. That's prophecy as well. That's what we're trying to show you today. Come on. There's more though.
Isaiah 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They're all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses.
That's where the majority of our black men are today. Hid in prison houses. Bring it out. That's where the majority of us are today. Why? Because we broke God's commandments. Right. That's the reason why that's happening to us. That's the reason why we're incarcerated at a higher rate. Come on.
They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a soul, for a spoil, and none saith restore.
We are.
Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come?
It says, who among you will hearken unto this? Who among you will listen to this? Because a lot of you are walking by. A lot of you are walking by not paying attention. That's why a lot of your sons are the ones in the prison. Right. A lot of your fathers are the ones locked up today. Right. Because you are not hearkening unto the Bible. Right.
Mass incarceration means that we've got a very high rate of incarceration historically, comparatively. And the other thing is the rate of incarceration is so high, so socially concentrated, that we're no longer incarcerating the individual, but we're incarcerating whole social groups. The rate of incarceration now is about 5 times higher than it was historically. Historically it was 100 per 100,000, now it's about 500 per 100,000. If we look at prison, if we add jail to that, it's about 700 per 100,000. Nowhere in the world incarcerates as much as we do. We've seen extremely high rates of exposure to the criminal justice system for African American men with very low levels of schooling. So if we think about black men who were born in the late 1970s and who are growing up through the American prison boom of the 1980s and the 1990s, the chances that they're going to serve time in state or federal prison if they dropped out of high school is about 70%. So going to prison for that group of black men with very low levels of schooling, that's become a normal life event. And that's really only happened in the last 10 years. We're at this point now where there's about 1.2 million African American children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's about 1 in 9. The research shows the kids who experience parental incarceration have diminished school achievement, they have behavioural problems, depressive symptoms, acting out, and there's also evidence that these kinds of negative effects associated with parental incarceration are concentrated more among boys than among girls. And there's a very real risk here that incarceration becomes an inherited trait. The underlying issue is we've chosen prison as a way to respond to that problem of crime. And there are a whole variety of ways that we could have chosen to respond to that problem of crime. We've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty. And we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Right. Read that. Y'all read that in Jeremiah 3:15. Come on.
Jeremiah 3:15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
So God says that he will give us pastors according to his heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. These Christian pastors that go to church on Sunday that pass around the collection plate, those are not according to God's heart.
Right.
They are not giving you the proper understanding of the Bible.
Right.
At all. At all.
Bring it out.
They were not set up by God.
Right.
Understand that. Read.
And it shall come to pass, when ye multiply and increase in the land, in those days, saith the Lord, they shall say no more.
That's not, okay. So now, give me that in Jeremiah 30, or Isaiah 30 and 8. Watch this. Because it's high time for our people to awake out of sleep. It's high time for us to understand what the Word of God is saying. Come on.
Isaiah 30 verse 8. Now go, write it before them in the table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come, forever and ever.
So our job now, God said to write it before them in the table, note it in a book. The book that it's written in is the Holy Bible.
Right.
So our job right now, our mission is to seek out the Bible. That's it. We're not to worship, we're not to be reading the Book of the Dead. We're not to be reading the the Gilgamesh epics, the whatever other books they got, the Seventh-day Adventist book.
Right.
By Ellen G. White, those Jehovah's Witness comic books. We're not to read that. The Quran.
Right.
The only book that we're supposed to be reading is the Holy Bible.
That's right.
That's the only book we're supposed to be studying. Give me that. Isaiah 34:16.
Yeah.
That's the only book we're supposed to be studying.
Right.
You got brothers talking about, I study this, I study that. You're only supposed to be studying the Bible.
Right.
That's it. Come on.
Isaiah 34 verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord.
Seek ye out of what?
The book of the Lord.
The what?
The Lord.
The book of the Lord is what you're supposed to be seeking out of, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. That's it, the Bible. Come on.
And read.
And read. Come on.
No one of these shall fail.
No one of these what? Prophecies shall fail out of the book. So we're supposed to seek out of the book of the Lord and read. Come on.
Right. None shall want her mate.
Meaning you cannot mix anything with the Bible. You cannot read the Bible one day and pick up the Quran. You cannot read the Bible one day and pick up the other stuff. You have to read only the Bible. That's the only book that's going to give you salvation. Everything else is garbage in comparison to the Word of God. Come on.
For my mouth it hath commanded.
For God's mouth it hath commanded. Come on.
And his spirit it hath gathered them.
So that's the only book that you're supposed to read on the earth. The Holy Bible. Any other book that you're studying, that you're claiming is spiritual and giving you knowledge, that is garbage according to the Bible.
That's right.
Yes. Give me Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. 12.
Ecclesiastes 12 verse 12. And further, by these my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end.
Because there's no end of all the books that's on the earth. You can find a book about smoking weed. You can find a book about liquor. You can find a book about plants. A book about genealogy. A book about anything. There's no end of all the books that's on the earth. Come on.
And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
But studying all of these different books to try to get knowledge, to try to get understanding, that's wearying your flesh. That's wearying your mind.
Right.
Come on.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
So it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Because guess what? King Solomon, he did that. King Solomon, he wanted to learn wisdom and folly. Come on.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
So this is the conclusion of the whole matter. Well, our job as black men, as black women, our job is to do what?
Fear God.
Fear God.
And keep his commandments.
That is the whole responsibility of us. Is to fear God and keep the commandments.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.